Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Carter's vlog. And we started max effort upper day off with a floor press, and he got 300 pounds. So, decently happy with that, because again, he's cut down to 200. We've lost a little bit of pressing strength, so a 300 floor press we're happy with at the moment. We're actually happy with that. Now we got to get his benching and pressing back up now that he can eat again. He got down to his desired body weight for his cut, and so we're good to go. All right, so after that, we did some closed grip benching with the buffalo bar. And I'm noticing he's struggling a little bit to touch the chest there on some of those reps. So it's like we may want to question if we want to use this particular bar or not for this. But it also has to do with the fact that we probably need to thicken his chest up a little bit as well. You know, again, if we're struggling to touch it with this bar, particularly again with a narrower grip, which should be easier on the shoulders. So, you know, and a little less tension on the pecs in terms of total mechanical tension at the bottom when we're at the lengthened position. So it might be worth us doing. All right, afterwards he's doing some lat pull downs, and I used to have him do pull-ups, but he runs into a lot of forearm problems and other stuff right now with pull-ups, just some overused stuff. And again, these are problems that existed before he hired me. You know, people will ask about that, and it's like, well, we've made progress on a lot of these things. We've gotten his elbows and everything healthier. We've definitely got his hips and low back healthier. You know, and we are still struggling with a little bit of minor pains and stuff in the lower body, and we're finding the angles and stuff that we can work. But his posterior chain and all of that really is a weak link, and you can tell when we look at the weights that he handles on the other exercises, right? Whereas the guy's got triceps. Guy has triceps, so, you know, no shock that he can, floor press 300, right, with a good clean press, with a good fast lockout, because again, look at the guy's triceps. They're also showing more since he did his cut. But after that, we do some one-arm dumbbell rows. So we're hitting into the middle back and everything from a couple of different angles. Then he does band press downs. And that's all I have him do anymore for triceps. Again, I would rather focus on delts, pecs, all of that stuff as far as benching muscles go. That's really what he needs. And so, you know, triceps, this is mostly just something I have anyone do. All my lifters do these if we're not doing any tricep specialization at the time, to be fair. I like to have a lot of people do these anyways. Of course, we always do a little bit of shoulder work here also. So he does some dumbbell lateral raises. Again, exercise I use a lot more for my people these days. And I do have a little more direct delt work for my non-novice lifters. All right, I'll let them do a little bit more. Again, no harm in it. It's going to help people get a look. All right, he went ahead and strapped up for this, but he pulled a conventional deadlift. We got 405. And again, I want people to keep in mind his upper body is stronger than the lower. He's run into a lot of overuse problems. It was really a mess when we started here. But slowly but surely, we're getting stronger on the lower body. We're able to do these things without, the same amount of pain he used to have. But there is still some discomfort. And again, some of it's related to and gets exacerbated by his work. But our first assistance exercise, we can call it assistance or accessory. I tend to think of it can be assistance, to be honest, the belt squat. So we do the belt squat, and of course he's got his Rogue Rhino setup. Again, very popular setup. If I wanted to spend the money for another belt squat these days, I'd consider it. I ended up getting the best value for the money, I would say, on the market, the bells of steel. But I'm not going to lie, this is a pretty nice setup, right? These Rogue Rhinos are pretty nice. They're pricey, but they're nice. And of course, you can get them to where they attach to the monster racks and everything. All right, then he does glute ham raises and reverse hyperextensions. Of course, we do some good mornings on the other day on dynamic effort. But right now I'm having him stick to the basics here for max effort. You know, we hit our max effort lift, We do some belt squats, we do some glute ham raises, reverse hypers. And again, good overall lower body development lifts, right? They all require somewhat specialized equipment, but it's worth it. And this is stuff that he has. He's invested in it. So, we're going to use it accordingly, right? We're going to use it accordingly. But keeping in mind, posterior chain is absolutely a weakling for him. And again, a lot of it's due to him doing way too much volume, going too hard, things like that with it, with no fatigue management, a few years ago. So, he's been paying the price for that. And that's stuff I tell people, it's like you can do tons of lower body stuff up to a point, but you better be looking at your fatigue management. You better be looking at what's happening with overuse, right? More is not always the key to building a massive squat and deadlift. All right, speed bench, we used bands this week. And he does a typical rotation, where we do wide, medium, close. Again, I like that. I think it works great. They always did it that way at West Side. It's a great system, and it works because it lets us work different muscle angles and slightly different techniques. All right, then he does seated dumbbell presses. Again, good exercise. Not everyone can do overhead work, unfortunately. But if you can, this is a great movement, particularly, I think, for improving the bench press out of the bottom, like if you're slow off the chest. Right? This particular exercise is one of those that'll help with it, because, again, we're really building those front delts up. All right, afterwards, he does more lat pull downs, and he changes his attachments and grips a lot, which I like is good, because he has a few different attachments for some of this stuff. So he can work different angles. And I want to point out again, I like him doing that. It helps with overuse. Just like on the speed benching there, we're doing 3 different grips, right? Well, a lot of the supplemental work, we can do stuff the same way, using different grips, different angles, different attachments, whatever we have to do. Again, will probably give us better overall hypertrophy, reduces overuse. It's a good thing. Then we do the one-arm dumbbell rows, right? We do one-arm dumbbell rows. I still want to work his upper back and stuff. And as I've said before, I can do less rowing for people if we have a lot more other upper back stuff. But for him, I'm letting him do these. We could use the extra back in general, and I don't think we can get everything that we want for him out of just the pull downs at the moment. So we're continuing to use this approach. But people will notice I do this a couple different ways, right? A lot of my people who are really good at pull-ups will do other upper back work and just do lots of pull-ups. If they're good at them, can vary the grips, stuff like that. Other people, will do a lot more rowing, right? Do a lot more rowing. And then we'll do slightly less upper back stuff of additional stuff because the rows handle it pretty well. Then, of course, we do the band press downs for him. And then on to dynamic effort lower day. All right, so safety bar speed boxes against bands. Something you're going to see a lot of my people do, right? Unless they really need the practice with the straight bar, which I do at the moment, so you see me doing that. But a lot of the people who don't need that practice, they're not competing in powerlifting. It's a very common setup if they have the equipment. I'll leave some of my people on that almost year round. Safety bar box squats against bands or chains. All right, speed pulls, this new setup is working pretty well for him on these, so we're going to keep running with it. So he did conventional against bands. Now this is where we really see his weak links come out. When you notice how difficult good mornings are for him in terms of weight, this is where we see all that posterior chain weakness, right? And that whole area needs to come up. And you can tell from the side, you look at the legs, that his hamstrings need more work, you tell his glutes need more work. These are areas that are limiting him. And because they're also weaker and underdeveloped, there's some imbalances, that has contributed to his overuse problems. It's going to affect your gait. It's going to affect the way you walk if you're wearing a lot of kit and things, depending on your job. So a lot of people are basically doing loaded carries at their work, depending on what they do. So those areas are then going to exacerbate low back problems. And you'll notice the same when we get to the reverse hypers, the weight he has to use. This is where we're seeing his weak links come out. And nonetheless, he's still strong enough to deadlift, 405, but it's because he's got enough quads to break it off the floor. He can compensate with his pretty strong back, but the posterior chain needs to work, right? It needs to work. And so we work it, we do, because we have to keep doing that. That's where we need to put a lot of our efforts for him. Glutes and hamstrings. Glutes and hamstrings. Really a big deal for him at this point. All right, and here we go. Then we finish up with the reverse hypers. So I hope it has been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.